There are three constants: cold, work, and the moan. The first is an ever-present danger. The second is our best weapon to fight it. And the third is proof our weapon is working. That the tools we have built to preserve us from the ice and snow are keeping them at bay. The world we knew ended 10 years ago. The great frost descended and the cold never relented. There are no more seasons, no more warmth. Things we took for granted in our old life, food, trees, comfort, are difficult to come by. It is a hard life, but it's the only one we have. We go forward, day after day, driven by the same words that spurred us on since we migrated north. The city must survive. Frostpunk, the award-winning video game from 11-bit Studios, is becoming a tabletop role-playing game. Catalyst Game Labs, longtime of Shadowrun and Battletech. This society-building game pushes players to consider what they will do to preserve the fragile communities that they have built. Take on a variety of roles, from medic to engineer to hunter to explorer and more. See what you can build a society, confront crises, and dangers of the continual cold. The choices you will face will not be easy, but they cannot be avoided. What will you prioritize? What will you value? If you keep hope in your people and reduce discontent, you can build something that lasts. But if things go poorly, people will let you know. You could find society crumbling around you and perhaps be exiled into the cold with no hope of return to warmth. Using the new Dice Core role-playing system, the Frostpunk role-playing game offers an easy-to-learn, fast-moving system that puts your character's decision at the center of any session, and allows you to try and build and maintain a city that somehow manages to hold people together. Back now for your chance to play an entirely new kind of RPG.
Clan Seafox aims to be the leading broker of interstellar communications across the Inner Sphere, but the Hyperpulse Generator Network blackout has been a thorn in their side for far too long. To fix the network, the Seafoxes enlist the skills of an elite watch operative codenamed Kitefin. Her first priority is to capture the one man with the knowledge to end the crisis and restore communication across the stars, Tucker Harwell, a genius who vanished amid the chaos of Terra's conquest. Before Agent Kitefin can take Tucker to Voidbreaker Station and begin the work of repairing the vast HPG comms network, she'll have to find him. Unfortunately, she's not the only one looking. Voidbreaker is a high-stakes spy thriller blended with the explosive military action of battletech from the award-winning author of Fox Tales, and without question, Bryan Young. Get it January 24th, wherever battletech books are sold. You don't want to miss it.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Tuesday Newsday. It's me, Rem. I'm the Community and Marketing Director for Catalyst, and I'm here with my special guest today, Bryan Young. Hi!
Hello.
How are you?
I am just swell. How about yourself?
Live and kicking, or sometimes twitching, but hey, alive. Well, I'm excited to talk to you today about Voidbreaker, among other things. But I only have a little bit of news today. Most of Catalyst is actually in Puerto Rico. Tomorrow is the anniversary of Connor Coleman's death. So they're all together in Puerto Rico to take the hike that Connor was on when he passed away. So I don't have too much news this week, as things have stalled a little as everyone takes some time to celebrate Connor. But what I do have is for battletech. We had a surprise release of the Black Remnant Force Pack that premiered at PAX. So Black Remnant is based off of the live stream by Penny Arcade. that plays battletech. I think they still play weekly. And they've done a great job at supporting us, and we love supporting them. So we designed a force pack with their characters and stuff like that. So that is now on the Catalyst store and is super exciting. The other thing that I want to share, because I looked at the calendar right before this and realized it's almost February. So I want to look at the release schedule and let you guys know what's coming for February 5th. We've got Battletech Map Pack Savannah, Inner Sphere Recon Lance Force Pack, Clan Cavalry Star Force Pack, Battlefield Support Battle and Fire Lances Force Pack, and the Battlemat City HPG Heliport. Then we have for February 19th is the second street date for our warehouse this month, and that will have the Inner Sphere Security Lance Force Pack, the House Davian Heavy Battle Lance Force Pack. I know that's much anticipated. And the Sun Tzu, The Art of War, translated by Jamie Wolfe, will be available. So it's pretty exciting. Starting to see these releases come. And again, those releases are for US, Canada only. We will be doing wider releases for international as the Kickstarter fulfills. But anything that isn't tied directly to the Kickstarter, like the House Davian Force Pack, will be available worldwide. In Shadowrun news, last week we released Lethal Harvest, which we had RJ on the show to talk about the end of certain plot line that happens in that book. And then February is also going to see the release of the first issue of Augment, the Shadowrun zine that I will be talking about with Bryan here in a little bit as well. The only other news, well, actually, hold on. I've got two more bits of news. One is Leviathans. It did manage to ship before Chinese New Year. So we are going to start working with the fulfillment agency. We are using WebSphere, and which we haven't used before, so this should be new. I believe we haven't used, as long as I've known them, they haven't used it. So we're going to start coordinating with WebSphere so we can get some shipping prices into the Pledge Manager so that when the merchandise gets here, we can start shipping pretty quickly. There's also some videos that have been dropping on our YouTube channel for Leviathans of unboxings from from eStar, who is our manufacturer for the Leviathans minis. So you can see what it's looking like and stuff. There's been a lot of excitement around that. So finally, the last bit of news is Frostpunk officially has its start date. We knew it was going to be March. It's March 20th. So the Frostpunk tabletop role-playing game is coming to Kickstarter March 20th, and we're happy to announce that we are going to be doing a sister campaign with 11-Bit themselves. They are going to be launching a campaign the same day for a Frostpunk art book and a book of short stories and novellas by some of the famous Polish authors. That's hard to say. So check that out. And we've even got something in development I'll tell you about that is kind of exciting. So one of the stories from their book was just passed over to Jason Hardy, who's going to turn it into a campaign scenario for Frostpunk. So you can actually play the game and see what happens if the story turns out the same for your group or not. But we're going to do an actual play, recorded, and then release it when it's ready alongside the campaign. And it's going to be some of our developers and some of their developers at 11-Bit. So if you want to meet some of the personalities at 11-Bit that designed the Frostpunk video game, it's going to be pretty exciting. So excited and happy for that. The link to follow the Kickstarter is in the chat. And we're looking at just under 2 months from now, we will finally be launching the Kickstarter RPG. I think that's all my news. If you have questions, audience, feel free to ping the mods and put them in chat, and they'll feed them to Bryan and I at the end of the show. I can ask about pretty much anything. Ask Bryan questions, ask me questions, ask questions about Catalyst, and I'll answer what I can. Anything I don't know, I'm probably not going to get a quick answer today since everyone's in Puerto Rico. But I will do what I can. So, hi, Bryan.
Hi, Rem.
Thank you for joining me.
It is absolutely my pleasure. It's always great to see you.
It's fun to talk. We were saying just before the show how it's. I was like, I don't have a lot of news, and Bryan's like, well, we're pretty bad at talking. Everyone knows that we're not very good at that vamping
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. We're the worst at it. So, um, I don't know what we're gonna say. I don't know how we're gonna cover the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, well, we will just have to talk slowly. Let's not. I do have a nice bullet pointed list of things to talk about with you. Last time I had you on was in May for Without Question.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so what have you been doing since then? How did Without Question go? How are you feeling about your writing in BattleTech?
Without Question, I think went really well. Without Question, for those who might not remember, that was the sequel to the story of the Jade Falcons on Sudaten in the hinterlands region of the Inner Sphere, who are the leftovers left by Malvina Hazen in her rush to Terra while they were trying to take that from the wolves, and they're just really struggling to survive. And the way that story played out, I think was really exciting, and I'm really champing at the bit, hoping to be able to tell some more stories with them and sort of tell the next chapter of their story. Although I have some ideas of where that goes, but there's nothing set in stone yet. But I think folks liked that. My favorite bit of feedback that I've gotten going to conventions and stuff and hearing from BattleTech fans as I go to stores and play games or do signings or whatever is, they will come up and they will use expletives and they will say, "I hate you. I'm a Falcon fan now." Um, so I think that means, mission accomplished, I guess. Um,
I've noticed that like the most loved people in BattleTech, I guess I'm thinking of Randall and Mike Stackpole and stuff, is when people can say, "I hate you." It's you
yeah,
made me feel things.
yeah, yeah. Um, and without question, it was interesting that Voidbreaker, the book that just came out, I'd actually written before Without Question came out, and I've written a number of BattleTech things between then and now. So it was interesting to go back to Without Question and go back and do sort of the final edits and go like, oh wow, this was really fun, and to get back into it to prepare it for its release. But Voidbreaker, like if you were here for the trailer that played beforehand, it's very much a Mission Impossible James Bond-esque spy thriller set again in the Ill Clan era. This time, instead of Jade Falcons, we're dealing with the Sea Fox watch apparatus and a highly skilled watch agent, a star colonel named Kenja Rodriguez. She's tasked with the impossible mission of finding Tucker Harwell on Terra and forcing him to fix the HPG network for Clan Sea Fox. And everyone else wants him too. And it really was me channeling a love for all of the espionage and spy stories, both in film and in novel form, going back to those sorts of really cool loved in my formative years, trying to bring that flavor to BattleTech in a really cool way. And the book has only been out for 4 days, but it seems like the response has been really good. And the word I've been hearing from folks is that people seem to like it. um but I enjoyed it, and that's what matters most. I had so much fun writing it, and if you read it and you can't tell that I was having fun, then I must have done something wrong. But that was the most important thing for me, was that I was having fun writing it. And I think it was probably the most fun I had writing a BattleTech book to that point. It was
Oh,
just
neat.
It was a blast.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now I want to come back to Voidbreaker, but you just talked about having fun writing BattleTech. I heard you got a bit of a rush assignment over the holidays for both
Yeah.
BattleTech and Shadowrun.
Yeah, yeah. So, for folks who, I'm sure folks noticed that there were two surprise releases for the Christmas holiday. A Catalyst released two free short stories, one in BattleTech and one in Shadowrun, that were both Christmas themed. And I was very proud and honored to be asked to write both of those. I won't say how short of a deadline I was asked to write both of those on, but it was very short. But it was very fun work. The BattleTech short story was a Fox Patrol story, and it was about Katie just really trying to get some Christmas gifts for the rest of the crew, set after the events of Lone Wolf and Fox, or almost near the end of the events of Lone Wolf and Fox, in the Alena Mercantile League, and she has some problems with that. And then the Shadowrun story features Shimura, who's the troll street doc that I've been writing stories about, and it's very much a very anti megacorp uh, take on a Christmas Carol, but much more violent and Shadowrun. Um, and it was a lot of fun. And it was called Christmas in the Shadows. The Fox Patrol one was called Merry Foxmas.
I just dropped
Um,
both of those in chat for you guys.
yeah, no, they were a lot of fun. They're still free downloads. Um, I would say check them both out. They were both a lot of fun, even though we're a little bit past the holiday. I think they were both. I think they were both worth reading. I had a lot of fun writing those too. I think that's um, for the first, I think 4 or 5 years I was writing BattleTech and Shadowrun. My chief, my chief emotion was fear. Right? Like it was like I'm screwing this up. I'm going to screw all of this up. Everything is just there's too much deep history here. There's too many details that I'm going to screw up. And now, like, I think I've settled into, I kind of know where the guardrails are. I know the lore well enough, and I know where to look for the lore details, and I know who to ask for the lore details well enough that I don't feel like I'm going to go off the rails too far, that my primary focus now is just to be able to have fun with it and enjoy myself and tell just the best stories I can. And so now, like, my primary emotion when writing now, when I'm working in either of these worlds, is just like I'm gonna have fun and I'm gonna do the coolest stuff I know how to do.
Neat. So fun Christmas run and fun time with Voidbreaker. It's getting well
Yeah.
received. You talked a little bit about what to expect in terms of the plot. Um, is there more to come in this storyline, or do you think like it's going to continue into another book? Like I know you've done Without Question and then No Question and all the
Or
questions.
question of survival, and then Without Question. I would love to see more of that story. So I asked the same thing because I think it's very open-ended, that there's definitely more that can happen with these characters. And the response I got from John Helfers and Ray Arastia was, let's see how well this does, and
Cool.
let's see how well it's received. So if I can definitely see a whole series of really cool spy adventures with these characters, especially, I don't want to spoil anything, but when you get to the ending and you see the cast of characters that are around at the end, um, there could be a bit of a team situation there, doing covert operations in a very interesting way, um, in the Ill Clan era. And I would really love to see more of that kind of stuff in Battletech. I think there's opportunities for it. There are definitely story reasons in our overarching meta plot. I would love to do it. I've definitely got more ideas for it. I loved these characters. And so I would really love to see it. And what they told me was just like, well, let's see how well it does. So if folks respond to it and they like it, then that certainly opens up the possibilities. But if not, it's not like there's a shortage of battletech stories for me to tell.
Mm, yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Now, with Voidbreaker, you had told me a little something about before the show about a partnership with the demo team.
Yes, actually. So I had talked to in my area. I live in Utah, and there's a really great crew of demo agents here. Specifically, I want to call out Tech. He goes by Tech, and he's on the demo team, and he's been helping me out with events as we do. I'll do big like signing events to promote the books or Catalyst or just introduce people to the game here in my area here around Utah. And I'll drive uh, all over the mountain range here to do these events. And he wanted to do something a little bit cooler for Voidbreaker than we did for Without Question. And these events were really cool for Without Question, but I got permission to get him the advanced review copy of Voidbreaker so that he could create a really cool playable scenario based on the book. And it's been play tested and it's super fun, and it's based on one of the sort of culminating battles of the book, and it's in the hands of Catalyst, and we're going to be releasing it uh sometime in the next couple weeks with all of the record sheets and everything as a playable scenario
That's really cool.
for folks to download as a free download. And it's really fun. It's definitely a high stakes insertion mission where you get to play a lot of the major characters from the book. And it has all of, like I said, the record sheets that you'd need to play. And it's actually on the map that you talked about coming out next month, the HPG City map. That's the map it takes place
Oh,
on.
cool. Oh, how
So
neat. So
it's
it's all interconnected.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna need to remember that so that we can put that in, maybe not this newsletter since we won't have the links for the February releases yet and stuff, but the March one maybe, so that people can find all three of those together. I wonder if there's a way to bundle that too on the web store. I'm sure there is. That'd be neat. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think we should do more stuff like that. That's really creative and cool and a fun way to play in the world and stories that people love. So I know that you are making some con appearances to kind of promote your work too. What do you have on the docket?
So right now, the next one I have, I'm actually going to be appearing for those folks. Well, in the short term, I'm going to be doing stuff in Utah, just as sort of book launch events for Voidbreaker. So if you're in the Utah area, the second weekend of February, I'm going to be around there. And then the week after that, I'll be at Genghis Con in Colorado.
Neat.
And then in March, I will be at SaltCon, which is in Utah, and I think I'm still 50-50 on Adepticon.
Okay.
We'll see about that. And then I'll definitely be at Gen Con and Dragon Con, as usual.
Awesome.
So
awesome. That's a pretty busy March, February
yeah,
schedule you've got.
there's a lot of stuff in between there too. Like I've got a film festival in New York in March for my short film. I'm doing panels at Star Wars Celebration in Japan in April. Like I'm traveling all over the place.
That's so exciting. Oh, so cool. Neat.
Yeah.
It looks like we've got some people in chat that are going to see you there. So for SaltCon and for Genghis Con. Genghis Con is a fun little con in Colorado. I've gotten to go once, so I
I've
like
never
the vibe.
been, so I'm really excited for it. They asked if I wanted to come out, and they're bringing me out to come, and I they told me that they've got events that are very specifically they're Fox Patrol fans out there, so they've designed events around Fox Patrol
Oh,
specifically.
cool.
So they've asked me to come like play in those events, so we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. That's really neat. Ooh. Uh, do you do panels at each of your and like talks and stuff at each of your cons, or is it just kind of
I
dependent?
usually do Genghis Khan. They told me they don't usually do those, but they're trying to arrange some sort of gathering for me to do a Q&A.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Um, but yeah, like at like Dragon Con and Gen Con, and like I really do lots of panels and talks and things like that. So
Awesome. Cool. Uh, Now, in terms of BattleTech, before I flip the script here, um, do you have anything coming up you want to talk about?
yeah, so I've heard like I mean I've got a lot coming up. But the thing I was told that I was able to say that is coming up next is that we are collecting Lone Wolf and Fox, which is the serial novel from Shrapnel. And it was a four-part serial novel that appeared in issues 13 to 16. But we're adding to it as well. I wrote an extra um, story that's about 15,000 words long that told the story of the Fox Patrol. For those of you who read Without Question, you know that they make an appearance on Sudeten during the Battle of Sudeten against the Hell's Horses, and so we're going to see that battle from their perspective in that collection. So that'll be a lot of fun when we see that collection. It's very tense. The Fox Patrol has no business fighting against the clans. That's like Frodo by himself against the Balrog. It's just no, it's just not, it's just not sensible.
I whenever I hear the Balrog now, I got my friend into D&D and we watched Lord of the Rings together. It was her first time seeing it and stuff, and I was so proud of her when she was like, "They're not high enough level."
Mm. Oh, there's another con. I'm going to be in Indianapolis Comic Con, and I think I am doing a BattleTech panel there as
Oh,
well, and that's in
cool.
March.
That's in March?
Yes,
Man, that's quite a schedule. All right. Um,
yes,
awesome. All right, so
yes.
Ryan's going to be all over the place, all over the world here in the next few months. So I'm going to do something kind of crazy here. You guys may have noticed the new overlay that I rolled out in the new year, and we've got BattleTech highlighted down at the bottom so you can see the mech. Well, I'm going to switch it over to Shadowrun because we're going to talk a little bit about Shadowrun. So the most current news for you, Bryan, is
Yeah.
Augment, correct?
Yeah, no. So I've got two regular recurring columns in Augment magazine, which is the new Shadowrun magazine coming out. For those of you who've been paying attention to Tuesday Newsday, Jen Brozek, the editor, was on a few weeks ago, right?
Hey, you pay
Um,
attention to Tuesday Newsday.
yeah, I do. Um, so it's funny because the idea for this, I actually got asked to write these columns for Augment like 3 years ago. Um, in the airport at Gen Con. Um, by Jen, like Jen, Mike Stackpole, and John Helfers and I were like having a meal at the airport on our way out of Gen Con, and sort of the genesis of the magazine happened to be going on between Jen and John, and Mike Stackpole and I happened to be there, and she's like, "Do you guys want to write a column in that?" And Mike and I are just like, "Yeah." And so that's kind of where Mike and I got involved initially, and then it's sort of evolved, and yeah, so I'm writing a politics column, and that the headline for that in the story but that's going on in Denver on the cover is one that I wrote, and I'm doing product reviews as well. And there's some other stuff I might be doing as well down the line, but it's been a lot of fun. Working with Jen has been great. And I'm really excited. It's really interesting to be telling magazine style stories in the Shadowrun universe. Um,
Have you
in
like
character.
yeah, have you created like a character or multiple characters that are the ones telling
Yeah.
these stories? Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I essentially created like characters to write the articles as. So like I'm essentially role playing a writer and then writing stories in their voice. Um and taking them through the situations, whether that's doing the product reviews and sort of inventing the ideas of like what they're reviewing and why and how they're doing that. And then also trying to think about how I can add for not just people who are interested in reading it as fiction, but also game players as well, trying to insert like how can I insert little hooks or ideas to make it so that if you wanted to include some of these products or some of these ideas in as story hooks for your games, how could you do that, right?
Hmm.
And disguise it all as in-universe nonfiction almost. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Neat.
In character, in that character voice. So it's like two layers of writing. It's really interesting. It's
Hmm.
really fun.
So,
So,
what kind of product reviews can we expect from you?
um, I don't want to like I've turned in my work for the first two issues. For the first issue, it is um like cyber enhancements
Oh, cool.
and I don't want to talk too much about the second issue, but yeah, the first issue it's like cybernetics and cyber enhancements and software and things like that.
So is I'm trying to kind of visualize how this is going to look before it's been released. So is this going to be kind of like a if you're looking for new cyber eyes, these are the products to think about or compare to or whatever. Like is it going to kind of be that kind of thing?
It would be more like, hey, these are the new cyber eyes on the street. Like, this is what this new company came out with. Here's the new features that it has, and I got a chance to check them out. Here's what, like, think about that kind of thing.
Cool. Okay. Oh, I
Yeah,
like that a lot. And that makes me immediately think like who's paying for that and
exactly, exactly.
excellent. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. And like the lineup of talent that Jennifer is and John Helfers is lined up for the magazine. It's sort of like a murderer's row of just really great talent. And like what Mike Stackpole is doing too is really interesting because he's doing like an Ask a Shadowrunner column, like in
Ooh.
universe as like Wolf and like he's doing an advice column as Wolf and Raven, but he's having other people from the Shadowrun team, like ask him in character questions, and he's answering them in character as those guys. So like it's just a lot of fun.
Cool. Cool. You know, a little off topic, but it came up this week, so I think it's kind of newsy, even if it's speculative. It might be, it's more headcanon maybe than an actual thing. But a fan and friend reached out and told me that they're playing through Cyberpunk 2077. And they did a upgrade to perks about a month after we did the Shadowrun Takedown campaign, and the perk is called Shadowrunner, and it says specifically. Ooh, let me get the actual wording of this. Um, June sent it to me. Thank you, June. And it says 100% trace progress after performing a takedown. So that could be a little Easter egg for Shadowrun Takedown since it that patch came out about a month after the campaign launched. And I've heard that there's a developer of Cyberpunk 2077 that loves Shadowrun. So I'm hopeful that that's what it was. But it's my headcanon now. So it's cool that
Okay.
you get to see those little Easter eggs from like behind the scenes and stuff. So it's cool to see you guys doing some of this and dropping things into Augment.
Yeah, no, Augment is going to be a lot of fun, and I hope people latch onto it. It'll be fun to have two magazines essentially going for one for Shadowrun, one for BattleTech. Um, and I think both of those properties deserve that kind of treatment.
Awesome. Oh, neat. Now, in addition to Augment, in addition to uh, not Mary Foxmas, the other one,
Christmas in the Shadows.
Christmas in the Shadows. What have you worked on for Shadowrun that people might not be aware of?
I've done a little bit of the source book fiction, and I don't think it's out yet. And then I did in the Magic Machines and
Machines.
Mayhem anthology, I did a short story I'm really proud of in there. And then I did the novella Mercy Street,
Oh, cool.
um, which I really liked. And I just I've got some other stuff in the works with Shadowrun that I'm really excited to get some work on. It's funny when first got into BattleTech, it was initially like, "Hey, are you guys looking for writers for Shadowrun?" And John Helfers was like, "Nope. How about BattleTech?" And I was like, "Done." Um, but now I'm finally being able to dip my toes into Shadowrun. I really love both the worlds, both those universes a lot, and they're both very different. And I love what I get to do because they are so different in both of them.
Awesome. Awesome. I'd love to play Shadowrun with you sometime. We should make some time at a con.
Yeah, no, that'd be a lot of fun.
Neat. Uh, all right, so we are about 20 minutes, almost 20 minutes to the top of the hour. So anything else you want to say, talk about, promote before we transition to Q&A?
I mean, I think we covered the big things. I mean, if people want to see me at any of those cons, if they want to go to my website, my con schedule's on there. That's just swankmotron.com. And my con schedule's on there, and it's pretty well up to date and will be up to date. And I'll be doing, yeah, just tons of shows this year, and I'm happy to sign books and meet people and say hello. Um, and yeah, I hope to just keep doing all this stuff, and I'm just having a lot of fun. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for all that you have contributed and continue to contribute to these IPs and these worlds. Appreciate that. I just opened up the questions doc, and the first one I see for you, Bryan, is how long is Catalyst going to make us wait for your next book?
That's a John Helfers question. Um, I've written a lot of stuff. Part of it is just to help. I've written so far ahead. I think to help smooth out the release schedule, to help get things on a more consistent schedule. So hopefully things run a little smoother on the back end. So we can like place things and put them on a schedule that's a little bit more consistent. But so there's stuff to come out, but the hope is to give it that time to breathe and let us be able to edit it properly and market it. And so I have no idea. I don't know. I can't tell you. Yeah.
I wonder, it's okay if you're not allowed to answer this, but for my own curiosity, how many works have you submitted that have yet to be published in the pipe?
Are we talking like book length or short stories and novellas?
Anything.
A lot. I mean, I'll say like Mike Stackpole and I have turned in the first script for the graphic novel. I've turned in a few books, a novella, a few short stories. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Lots to come.
Yeah.
Do you ever... I feel like these are coming from Lorcan. Do you ever feel a bit weird referring to yourself in the third person as you make the promo videos?
Yes. Sometimes, well, no. So like when I make the promo videos, because I make all the promo videos, so it's not just me, and like I have a different voice almost. It's like it's the radio announcer voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not thinking about it. I'm more thinking about like how am I going to stress this and how am I like I'm thinking more on the performance than and the script and not screwing it up and how I'm going to edit it than I am worrying about what name I'm saying. It's all just a jumble of vowels and consonants than it is my actual name, if that makes sense.
Cool. Okay, fair. Florian asks, I love or says, I loved the bizarre scene. It is Tucker as I imagine him. So
Oh,
that's
in
awesome.
Voidbreaker. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That was a really interesting scene to nail, and especially like I think one of the hardest parts of Voidbreaker was figuring out which planets everything had to happen on. That was actually part of the initial uh genesis of the project. The
Mm.
genesis of the project um um happened at the Catalyst Story Summit a couple years ago, and Ray pulled me aside. There were maps everywhere in this hotel conference room, and Ray pulled me aside and we just sat there and looked at the maps, sort of going like, we need to get someone from here to here, and they need to find Tucker, and they need to bring him here, and then we need to get him to this point by X date, and this is how all this would need to work. And then under those confines, I was working with Josh Perrion, who's an associate developer at battletech, and he was the developer, really the project manager and developer in charge of Ilkon's Eyes Only, and he was working with me every day on Voidbreaker,
Oh,
really
wow.
helping me work out all of the like travel times and everything. And when we were working on that, I was like, I really need a planet that can work for this and this, that needs to be in this region. And I'll tell you, I got this taste in my mouth for something that's like, I need like a Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of thing. I need a bazaar. I need something that's going to have that flavor to it, and that's how we came up with the planet. Um, like we identified the planet based on all of the criteria, plus me going like, we need that Raiders of the Lost Ark feel.
Mm,
And he was just a champ about that.
awesome. Okay. The next question is about Aikio. Florian asks, in Aikio, there's a call to arms from Tucker to mess up Terra. That doesn't sound like his idea. Will we be able to read how that happened, or will that be a BattleTech mystery? Any ideas?
There, so like I know what's going on there. I know how that happened, and that's sort of hinted at some of the information that Kenja got in Voidbreaker. Um, I know there's plans for that story, but I'm not at liberty to discuss what those
Sure.
plans are or where they're coming out or whatever. So, um, yeah, just wait, patience.
Awesome. Night Moss asks, would Bryan ever want to write for Leviathans?
I've asked.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, no, I love like World War One is my jam. Like, I wrote a novel in 2015 that was a steampunk kind of take on World War One.
Oh,
So
cool.
like it's definitely in my wheelhouse. Um, it's something I really love the aesthetic of. I love playing Leviathans. Like I've gotten to play it a couple times and it's really fun. I love the world. I love the aesthetic. Um, Bryn and John just need to go like, hey, Bryan, we've already got our fill of BattleTech from you, and you've already got some Shadowrun stuff. Do you want to do some Leviathans? And I'd be like, yes, please.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think probably our commitment at this point is get the Kickstarter fulfilled, get it out to retail finally, let people start playing the game, and then we'll expand the
Oh, yeah.
line and stuff like
Oh,
that.
no,
So
I know where the holdup is. But I'm just saying, like, it's not me. All I need is an invitation, and I'll be like,
awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
Question about conventions. Chris Pretzelbear, hey Pretzelbear, asks, my big question: do we know who all from CGL will make it to Adepticon this year? My assumption, I don't know, but my assumption is, everyone in Catalyst, like all the directors and BattleTech devs and stuff like that. I probably won't be. Um, and then I'm not sure yet what freelancers are coming or that we're bringing or however that works. So I don't have a complete list at this point that I'm aware of. I haven't been very involved in the conversation. So for Shadowrun, Space Fork, I love that name. Will there be a restock of Shadowrun First Edition? That is a good question that I would like to know the answer to as well. And I know Jason is not in Puerto Rico, so I'm going to send him a message real quick and see if I can get a response. Vamp for me, Bryan.
I'd really love that. That Shadowrun First Edition. It was just such a gorgeous book. That was really, I think my first copy of Shadowrun was actually second edition, but I just loved those glossy pages that FASA had with all the character templates. I think not enough role-playing games did those back in the old days.
Yeah.
And that was what made me want to play Shadowrun when I was a kid. Was the glossy color template, like the character archetypes in the Shadowrun book.
And it's an artifact, whether or not you want to play the rules of first edition, which there's a very vocal community about, but like it just feels like a collector's item too. So like I you can't quite see mine, it's off frame, but I've got mine up on my wall. Yeah, it's a staple of the history of gaming that we've come from and love.
Yeah.
Awesome. Battletech questions. Is there a street date for the Black Remnant Force Pack to hit retail yet? That should be, my understanding is once it's released on the Catalyst store, it should be released to retail as well. But because this was a sudden drop, I would have to follow up on that. So I'm not sure if that's on the February docket or not. But I'll make sure to follow up on that. Remnant retailer street. What do retail purchasers do when they get a vehicle in their force pack? Return to store, email CGL. Is this referring to what you got in your Kickstarter stuff or what you get in your orders from like distro? If you can clarify in chat, let me know and I'll come back to that one. Check again about the first edition. Apparently we've got like 2,800 copies at the warehouse. So we should still have it. If something's not going right, email store@catalystgamelabs.com and we'll look into it and get it fixed. From the Battletech forum, any update on the Wars of Reaving novels? Do you know anything about those, Bryan?
I know that Jason Hansa, Craig Reed, and Phil Lee are working diligently on them. The thing I've heard from them is that it's the hardest Battletech project they've ever worked on. But just that it's just a landmine of canon that they're working around and that they're having fun and they're working together really well. But it's a huge project. That's just what they've reported to me in the, at that writer's water cooler that we have, that they're working on it and it sounds rad, the stuff that they're doing.
Cool. Awesome.
Everybody should be excited about it. That's what I'm telling you. Those three do good work and they're going to knock it out of the park. And I think it sounds like they're paying attention to the details to make sure that everybody's going to be happy with what they get and it's not going to contradict anything.
Cool. Awesome. Follow up to the question about retail purchasers get a vehicle in their force pack. Let me follow up. I know we were committed to, because in the Kickstarter we had advertised it as being mechs only, and no vehicles, which is why we made those right. But I'm not sure what the plan is, if there's a plan beyond that at retail, or even when we do reprints, if that would be something that it was a bug and is now a feature. I don't know yet. So I'll have to ask about that. I do not have that answer. Warpolar asks, Savage Wolf in plastic when? No idea. And again, like if you guys want to ask some of this stuff at future Tuesday Newsday when everyone's in town, I can throw some of these out there and see if I get responses while on stream. Von Ether, where can we submit typos for Operation Ragnar Leviathans? I don't know that we have a formal place for that. That would be, again, Bryn is going to be in Puerto Rico, so I don't have an answer for that this week. I'd say for the time being, if you just want to get it out of your head, do store@catalystgamelabs.com and they can forward it to Bryn. And then we can figure out a better, more streamlined way to do that from there. Question from Grom. Any updates on Voltron, like a PDF release date? We do not have any PDF release dates yet. The book is in layout and editing, and then will be submitted to Universal for final approval, since they're the licensees. So we're still a little ways away from that, a couple of months at least. But I know that my team is working on the Pledge Manager right now and getting that finalized and facilitated. As usual, we are breaking BackerKit. It's our favorite thing to do, because there's not an easy way, in case you want to peek behind the scenes. So we did the upgrade where you could upgrade to limited edition. There's not a good way to do that in BackerKit. We're going to make it happen. There's workarounds to make it happen, but there's not an easy way to do that. So the team is trying to figure out and troubleshoot, and we've got a really good contact at BackerKit that helps us solve a lot of these problems. So we may not do upgrades again because it's kind of a pain in the butt unless they build that out in their system. So luckily we've done enough of these projects now that we have good relationships, and they've been asking us for feedback, which is nice. So I think that's the last question I have, unless anything else pops up here. Check the end of the chat here. Hiroshiro asks, any idea what happens to people who paid for portraits for Clan Invasion? The questionnaire didn't mention it at all. So I talked about this a week or two ago on stream, so I won't get into all the details again. But I know that we're trying to get the master list, getting all the surveys, and then we'll be comparing that list to who got the character upgrades and the different upgrades that are available, and then reaching out to them to follow up for stuff. So stay tuned. As soon as we have final word, we'll be communicating with you guys through the backer updates. So stay tuned. I think that's all of our questions. So I think we're gonna stop it there. But Bryan, anything else you want to add in or say before we say goodbye?
Yeah, no, if you haven't snagged a copy of Voidbreaker yet, or if you're on the fence about it, I would just recommend checking it out. It's a very fun battletech book. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit outside the lines from what you would usually expect for battletech, but I poured my heart and soul into it, and it really does serve as an end cap, a really true end cap for the end of the Dark Age era. As it really does solve the HPG questions that people have been having since Ghost War came out almost 25 years ago. So it really does advance the story in a way that people have been waiting for a long time. So check it out.
Awesome. And here is my required acknowledgement. I see you, Big Red, and you are chaos incarnate as always. So Thank you for doing the book reviews and partnering with us. I know you've read Bryan's work for the reviews and stuff, so appreciate you when you're behaved. But thank you so much for joining me, Bryan. Thank you guys for joining, just like you do every week. And we'll see you guys next week. Oh, my special guest next week is Brent Evans, Catalyst art director, and he has some pretty big news, so you won't want to miss it. And we'll see you next week.